My wife texted me. Heading to bed early. Big day tomorrow. I didn't question it. I wasn't the kind of man who checked the locks twice and accused shadows of cheating. I was the kind of man who fixed what was broken, wrote the invoice, and went home tired enough to fall asleep in my boots. But I did open the camera feed. Not because I suspected her, because I built our home system, and habits are just routines with better marketing. The living room camera came up first. The couch, the throw blanket she loved, the framed photo of us at the county fair, smiling like the future was a sure thing. Then I thumbed to the hallway. Then the kitchen. Then the guest room. Claire wasn't alone. For a second, my brain tried to save me. It offered excuses the way a dying phone offers one last %. Maybe it's her cousin. Maybe it's a friend. Maybe you're misreading angles. Then the man on my screen leaned in, kissed the side of her neck, and she laughed, quiet, practiced, the way she laughed when someone told her she looked amazing. I recognized him because I'd already seen him, just not in my house. The shared tablet on our counter was synced to her messages. I'd noticed the name the way you notice a loose tooth, by accident, then again, then because you can't stop testing it. Evan Rusk. A couple of "can't wait for tomorrow" texts. A heart emoji that didn't belong to me. I didn't confront her. I didn't drive home like a movie husband, fists clenched, ready to roar. I was already home. I stood in my workroom, staring at the router like it was a witness that couldn't lie. I changed the Wi-Fi password. Then I texted Evan the new one from Claire's phone number, which was still logged in on the tablet. New password. Big day tomorrow. It was petty. It was neat. It was also a test. If he was in my house, his phone would drop and he'd scramble. People reveal themselves when a door slams unexpectedly. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. On the camera, Evan's head snapped up the second his phone buzzed. Claire's eyes darted toward the smoke detector in the corner, where the tiny camera lens stared back like a pupil that never blinked. The little blue camera light came on. They both looked straight at it. That's when I clicked one more setting. I turned on the audible warning, a calm female voice that said, "This area is under video surveillance," and I set it to repeat every 30 seconds. Not a siren, not a screaming alarm, just a reminder, a metronome, a countdown. Claire's smile collapsed like a cheap tent. Evan mouthed, "What the?" I watched her grab his wrist and hiss something I couldn't hear over the warning. They stood up too fast, like guilty people always do, and the bedspread bunched under them like it was trying to get away. The warning repeated. This area is under video surveillance. I didn't feel rage. I felt something colder, a sense of administration, a filing cabinet sliding shut. I opened the system settings and enabled cloud backup lock. If the local recorder went offline, clips would still upload. If someone tried to delete footage, the system would flag it and send an alert, one I'd routed to my private email months ago when the neighborhood had a rash of porch pirates. The warning repeated again. This area is under video surveillance. Claire grabbed her phone. I watched her thumb the screen. My own phone rang in my pocket. I let it ring. I kept quiet. You learn the truth about people in strange ways. Sometimes it's a confession. Sometimes it's a betrayal. Sometimes it's the way their call ends when you don't answer, like they're not worried about you, they're worried about what you know. When Claire hung up, she didn't text, "Are you okay?" or "Where are you?" She texted, "Stop, now, for now." 2 words, no name, no explanation, like I was a dog pawing at furniture. On the feed, Evan started pulling on his shirt. He moved like he belonged there. That pissed me off more than the cheating. Cheating was old. Ownership was worse. Claire looked at the camera again. She leaned toward it and spoke, slow and firm, like she was talking to a patient who didn't understand the plan. "Nate," she said, This isn't what it looks like. It was exactly what it looked like. The only thing missing was an announcer and popcorn. I still didn't confront her. Not yet. I wanted facts. I wanted dates. I wanted something more solid than my own pulse. So I did what I always did when something went wrong in a house. I checked the logs, router admin page, connected devices. One unfamiliar iPhone with a generic name, MAC address ending in 9F. Lease time, 10:37 p.m. The camera clip timestamp, 10:38 p.m. I copied it all. Screenshots, exported clip. Saved to a folder labeled Invoices, 2023, because the world is full of men who hide their sins in plain sight. On camera, Evan stepped into the hallway. He glanced down at the warning speaker, then up at the lens. His mouth curved. He wasn't scared. He looked entertained. Then he walked out, calm as a man leaving a diner after coffee. He didn't run. He didn't stumble. He didn't look back. That's when I noticed where he parked. My driveway camera caught his car's plate under the porch light. Clear enough to read. Clear enough to remember. Clear enough to make sure I never had to guess again. Claire followed him to the door, wrapping a robe tight around herself. She watched him leave like she didn't want him to go, and like she wanted him gone before I arrived, before I became real. When the door shut, she stood there for a second, back to the camera, shoulders tense. Then she turned and stared straight into the lens again. "Turn it off," she said. "You're being insane." I almost laughed. It came out as air. Being insane would have been throwing a chair. Being insane would have been smashing the tablet and screaming her name into the night. This was the opposite of insane. This was me keeping receipts. I didn't sleep. I didn't pace. I moved through the house like a technician on a midnight call-out. I opened the safe and took out my passport, my birth certificate, the title to my truck. I gathered every spare key. I walked the rooms and collected anything that mattered. My father's watch, the envelope of cash we kept for emergencies, the flash drive with my business backups. I wasn't taking our things. I was taking mine. The difference matters in court, and I'd learned early that the world only respects pain when it's documented. At 2:11 a.m., the shared tablet lit up with a new calendar notification. Vendor Appreciation Breakfast. Private Donor Suite. Organizer, Claire Hale. Guest, Evan Rusk. Location, Briar Hollow Regional Hospital. Time, 6:30 a.m. Big day, tomorrow. My stomach didn't drop. It steadied. It wasn't just an affair. It was a partnership. Briar Hollow was the kind of place where gossip traveled faster than ambulances, and the hospital on the hill ran the town like a heartbeat. Claire ran operations there. I installed the cameras that watched the hallways. We both knew systems. Mine just kept better records. At 5 a.m., I brewed coffee I didn't drink and sat at my workbench with the tablet. I didn't dig through her private accounts. I didn't need to. The tablet was ours. The messages popped up like they wanted to be seen. Claire, don't come in through the lobby. Use the service elevator. Evan, you worry too much. I'll be there. Claire, this has to go perfect. Evan, it will. You're amazing. No one says you're amazing to a colleague like that unless they're already crossing lines. I searched Evan's name the way you search a part number. Not for revenge, for context. Public vendor brochure on the hospital site. Facilities Solutions Group. Evan Rusk, Regional Account Manager. Photo, wide smile, white teeth, suit that cost more than my first truck. LinkedIn profile, same face, same confidence. I printed the page. I printed the calendar invite. I printed the router log. I printed the still frame from my guest room camera where his hand was on my wife's waist. Then I made a timeline. 1 page, no drama, just times, dates, and what happened. 10:34 p.m. Claire texts. Heading to bed early. 10:37 p.m. Unknown iPhone joins home network, MAC 9F. 10:38 p.m. Camera shows Evan Rusk entering guest room with Claire. 10:41 p.m. Audible warning enabled. 10:42 p.m. Claire calls Nate. No answer. 2:11 a.m. Calendar invite, vendor appreciation breakfast, receipts. At 6:05 a.m., Claire came downstairs looking like she'd slept in a storm. Her makeup was perfect. Her eyes weren't. She stopped when she saw me at the table with papers spread out like an autopsy. "Nate," she said, too soft. "What is this?" "Documentation," I said. Her mouth tightened. "You're embarrassing yourself." I glanced at the clock. "You have a breakfast to host." She stepped closer, voice lowering like she could keep the sound from reaching the walls. "This is complicated. He's important. There are contracts, donors. You don't understand how things work up there." "I understand how my router works," I said, "and I understand what I saw." She reached for the papers. I slid them out of reach. That's when she did the thing that told me she wasn't sorry. She was strategic. "I'm not doing this now," she said. "We'll talk tonight, after the breakfast. Just don't do anything stupid." Don't do anything stupid. Like she had. She grabbed her keys and left in a rush that didn't match heading to bed early. I waited 30 seconds, then watched the driveway camera until her taillights disappeared. Then I went to work. My first call was to an attorney. Not because I wanted a divorce at dawn, but because the only way to stay sane in a situation like this is to put boundaries around it. Law is just boundaries with teeth. Dana Pruitt's office was in a brick building downtown, above a dance studio. When I climbed the stairs, I could hear muffled music and feet hitting wood. Life happening. People practicing for joy while I practiced for survival. Dana didn't look like TV lawyers. No sharp suit, no fake smile. She looked like someone who'd been tired for 15 years and learned to weaponize that tiredness into focus. She flipped through my timeline without reacting, not shocked, not amused, just reading like it was a contract. When she got to the calendar invite, she tapped it once with her nail. "Hospital administrator," she said, nodding at Claire's title. "Vendor rep." "Facilities contractor," I said. "Do you know their vendor agreement?" I blinked. "I install cameras. I don't negotiate." Dana held up a hand. "Briar Hollow Regional is a public-facing institution. Even when it's privately funded, they still have compliance rules. Vendor reps sign ethics clauses, conflict of interest clauses, sometimes non-fraternization policies with decision-makers. It's all boring until it isn't." She looked at me for the first time, really looked. "Do you have proof beyond your home footage?" "I have router logs, time stamps, his face, her face." "That's enough to start," she said. "But here's the line. Don't break into anything. Don't impersonate anyone. Don't make threats. You keep your hands clean. Understand?" I nodded. My hands were clean. They'd never been the problem. My problem was how easy it would be to make them dirty. Dana slid a notepad toward me. "Why did you send him the new Wi-Fi password?" I hesitated, then told her. For the first time, her mouth quirked. "Petty. Also brilliant. It puts him physically in your home. It shows coordination. It shows they both knew it was risky." She wrote 2 words. Pattern. Optics. Then she asked the cold question that changed my breathing. "Does Evan have a spouse?" "I don't know," I said. "Find out," she said. Quietly, publicly, no stalking, just find out. I left her office with a folder and a plan that felt like a map out of a burning house. Outside, the sky was the color of dirty cotton. The hospital hill loomed in the distance. Big day tomorrow had become big day today, and I was done being background noise. I had a scheduled service call at the hospital. That part was true. 2 weeks earlier, facilities had complained one of their hallway cameras kept dropping off the network. They'd asked me to take a look. I'd agreed because work was work, and bills were bills. Now the call felt like fate trying to be funny. I parked in the contractor lot and clipped on my badge. Hale Security Solutions. That name still meant something up there. I'd installed the donor wing cameras myself last year. They'd trusted me around their most important rooms because I'd never given them a reason not to. I walked through the staff entrance, nodding at the guard. He waved me through like I belonged, because I did. I belonged in the systems, in the quiet spaces behind the scenes. The hospital smelled like disinfectant and coffee and fear, all layered together. Phones rang, wheels squeaked. A baby cried somewhere like it was arguing with the whole world. I kept my eyes forward, but I watched reflections. Glass doors, polished floors, elevator mirrors. I saw Claire before she saw me. She stood near the donor suite hallway, talking to a woman in a blazer. Her hair was up, her posture straight, her face set in the "everything is under control" expression she wore like armor. Then Evan stepped out of the service elevator. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wore a polo with his company logo and slacks like he was there to do a job. He carried a small bag. Tools, gifts, maybe just props. Claire's hand touched his arm. Quick, familiar, not an accident. He leaned in close and murmured something. She smiled, the same smile I'd watched collapse the night before. My chest tightened, but I didn't move. I didn't rush. I didn't shout her name across the hallway like a man auditioning for humiliation. I turned down the corridor and pretended to study a camera mount, like I belonged to the wall. The woman in the blazer laughed at something Claire said, then walked away. Claire watched her go, then spoke to Evan with her head angled toward him. Her voice didn't carry, but her body did. The way she stood, the way she looked at him like he was a secret that made her stronger. I took out my phone and opened my notes app. Time, 6:24 a.m. Location, donor wing hallway. Claire and Evan physical contact observed. Witnesses possible. Receipts don't have to be dramatic. They just have to be true. I went to the camera closet and fixed the issue like a professional. Loose connector. Old patch cable. The kind of problem you solve in 10 minutes and forget. But I didn't forget the moment I heard two nurses whisper as I passed. "Is that Claire's guy?" one said. "Hush," the other replied. "That's not her husband." Rumor was already there, soft as mold. All I had to do was give it light. When I finished, I stepped into a side hallway and called Dana. "I saw them together," I said. "Any audio?" she asked. "No, just proximity." "Good," she said. "Audio gets messy. Proximity doesn't. Now, did you find out if he's married?" I swallowed. "Not yet." "Do it today," she said. "Public sources, records. People love posting their own leverage." I hung up and stared at the wall, listening to the hospital breathe. The day hadn't even peaked yet. Evan Rusk had a wife. I found her the way I found everything now, patiently, legally, without touching anything that wasn't mine. His social media was curated, the way people do when they're selling themselves. No messy opinions, no political rants. Lots of humbled to work with great partners. A photo of him shaking hands with a hospital board member, another of him at a golf outing. But people aren't as careful as they think. In the comments under a photo from last Christmas, someone wrote, "Tell Maya I said hi," and Evan replied, "She says hi back. Miss you guys. Maya, wife, spouse, anchor." I searched her name, found her profile public enough to feel like a dare. Family photos, a golden retriever, a happy anniversary post from June with a picture of Evan and Maya clinking glasses. Caption, 8 years, still laughing. I stared at that photo for a long time. Not because it hurt me, because it revealed something about Claire. She'd been sleeping with a married man. Either she knew and didn't care, or she didn't know and hadn't even been important enough to get the truth. Both options tasted like rust. I printed the anniversary photo too, not to weaponize it for fun, to understand the shape of the explosion I was building. Claire texted me at noon. "We need to talk tonight. Please don't do anything. Please." Finally, I replied, "I'm at work." That was the truth. In a way, I'd never been more at work than I was now. At 3 p.m., Dana called me back. I pulled their vendor policy, she said. Public document. Evan's company signed an acknowledgement last year. It includes a clause about gifts and relationships that could compromise decision-making. So what now? I asked. Now we file a report. We do it clean. We do it with supporting evidence. We do it when it matters, when they can't bury it quietly. I pictured Claire in the donor suite, smiling for donors like nothing was happening. I pictured Evan with his polo and his grin, pretending he was just there for business. When is the next public event? Dana asked. The hospital gala is next week, I said, remembering because Claire had nagged me about her dress. Perfect, Dana said. We time it around that. Compliance moves fast when cameras are around. I exhaled. What about my marriage? Dana was quiet for a beat. That's your lane. But if you want my advice, don't argue with a liar. Just change the locks on reality. Make it impossible for her to rewrite. That night, Claire came home late. Her heels clicked on the tile like a countdown. She stopped in the doorway when she saw my suitcase by the stairs. Not packed for vacation, packed for separation. Nate, she said, voice shaking just enough to be useful. You're overreacting. I looked at her and felt something odd. Relief. Seeing her lie to my face made the decision easy. Tell me his wife's name, I said. Her eyes widened, just a flash. Then she recovered. What? Tell me Maya's name, I repeated. Claire went still, a statue remembering it used to be human. You looked him up, she said, accusation in her tone like I'd committed a crime by noticing. I looked up the man in my bed, I said. Tell me her name. She swallowed. I didn't know. Maybe she was telling the truth. Maybe she wasn't. Either way, it didn't change what she'd done. You didn't know because you didn't care, I said. She stepped forward, hand out, like she could touch my arm and reset the world. Nate, listen. Evan can help my career. The hospital. There are politics. You don't get it. This wasn't about you. There it was. The honest sentence hiding inside all the lies. This wasn't about you. I nodded slowly. Okay, I said. Her brow furrowed. Okay? Okay, I said again. Then what happens next isn't about you either. Revenge isn't fireworks. It's paperwork and timing, waiting until the target steps into the spotlight they begged for. The hospital gala filled the atrium with glass-ceiling moonlight, donors, board members, and enough smiles to drown a lie. Claire loved it for the same reason I hated it. Everything mattered there, and everyone was watching. I made sure the evidence could survive any attempt to erase it. I didn't hack anything. I didn't break into her phone. I didn't do illegal recordings. I used what I owned, my home system, my logs, my eyes. I exported the clip of Evan entering my guest room. I printed stills. I pulled router lease logs that showed an unknown device joining at the same time. I included the text message thread that arrived on our shared tablet, messages Claire had chosen to sync. Dana helped me shape it into something that wasn't emotional. It was a report, a timeline, a summary, attachments, a list of potential witnesses, nurses who'd whispered, security who'd seen Evan use the service elevator, and a final line. This relationship appears to create a conflict of interest given the vendor's role and the administrator's authority. No insults, no rage, just cause and effect. Dana also had me prepare a personal packet. For Maya, not a gotcha, not a humiliation stunt, a gentle set of facts, photo of the guest room still, calendar invite, the dates, enough for her to understand what was happening without me turning her into collateral damage. I don't want to hurt her, I told Dana. You're not hurting her, Dana said. He did. You're just taking away the darkness he's using to hide. The day of the gala, I parked 2 blocks away and walked. The air was cold, the kind that made your lungs feel raw. I liked it. Pain that you can name is better than pain you can't. Inside, the atrium buzzed with laughter and champagne, men in suits, women in dresses. The hospital logo projected on the wall like a brand burned into skin. I saw Claire across the room. She looked stunning. The dress fit her like it had been designed to sell the illusion that she was untouchable. She laughed with a donor couple, hand on her chest in a gesture she used when she wanted to look sincere. Evan was there too, hovering near the bar with other vendor reps. Polo replaced with a suit now. He blended in like he belonged. For a second I felt the old instinct, to walk up, to demand answers, to make noise. Then I remembered Dana's words. Don't argue with a liar. Change the locks on reality. I moved toward the compliance table near the back, where a woman in a navy dress stood beside a sign that said Ethics and Integrity. It was almost funny. Almost. I approached with a folder in my hand and a calm that felt borrowed. "Excuse me," I said. "I need to make a report." The woman glanced at my badge. "Are you staff?" "Contractor," I said, "but this involves staff and a vendor. I'm filing in good faith." Her eyes sharpened. "Who is it about?" I looked past her shoulder and saw Claire turn slightly, as if she felt my presence like a sudden draft. "Claire Hale," I said. "And Evan Rusk." The woman's smile vanished. "Come with me." We went into a small conference room off the atrium. The music thumped faintly through the wall like a heartbeat. The compliance officer, her name tag read L. Waters, sat at the table and opened my folder. She didn't gasp. She didn't say, "Oh my God." She just read. The way Dana had. The way professionals read when the world tilts and they need to measure the angle. When she reached the still frame from my guest room, she paused. Her finger traced the timestamp. "This is your home security footage?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "My system, my house, my router, shared device messages." "Any edits?" "No," I said. "Original export. Metadata intact." She nodded, flipping to the router logs. "And you texted him the new Wi-Fi password?" "Yes," I said. "From my wife's number on our shared tablet. He received it while in the house." Waters looked up. "Why would you do that?" "Because I wanted to know if he was really there," I said. "And because I wanted him to know he'd been seen." She studied me for a moment, then wrote something on a form. "Do you feel unsafe?" she asked. "No," I said. "But I feel like he's been emboldened. And I feel like she's abusing her position." Waters inhaled slowly. "If this is accurate, it's serious." "It's accurate," I said. She closed the folder. "We will initiate an investigation immediately." In the hallway outside, the gala laughter sounded louder, like the building itself wanted to pretend nothing was wrong. Waters continued. "I need you to understand the process. We can't discuss outcomes, but there may be immediate steps taken tonight." I nodded. "That's fine." I walked back into the atrium and felt dozens of eyes slide past me without seeing. I was just another contractor in a suit that didn't quite fit the crowd. Then I saw Claire. She was walking toward me fast, her smile still glued on for the room but cracking at the edges. She reached me near a pillar and grabbed my arm, fingers sharp as claws. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. I didn't pull away. I didn't raise my voice. I let her grip me where cameras could see it. "I'm attending," I said. "Like you wanted." Her smile twitched. "Nate, stop. You don't understand what you're doing." "I understand," I said. "You told me it wasn't about me, so I stopped making it about me." Her eyes flicked around, scanning for witnesses. "You're going to ruin me." The words hit me harder than I expected, because they were pure. Not, "You'll ruin us." Not, "Please." Not, "I'm sorry." Me. I leaned closer, speaking softly enough that only she could hear. "You already ruined you," I said. "I'm just turning the lights on." Her nails dug into my sleeve. "If you do this, I'll lose everything." I met her gaze. So did I. She released me like I'd burned her. Across the room, Evan noticed the exchange. His eyes narrowed, then he smiled, still entertained, still sure he was untouchable. He started walking toward us. That's when the first domino fell. A security guard in a dark suit approached Evan, touched his elbow, and spoke quietly. Evan's smile froze. Then another guard appeared. Then Waters came out of the hallway with a clipboard. The crowd kept laughing. Champagne kept flowing. Music kept playing. But in that small circle around Evan, the air changed. Evan's face went pale. Claire saw it too. She turned her head slowly, like she couldn't stop herself, and watched as the guard guided Evan toward the conference room. She looked back at me with something in her eyes that wasn't anger. It was fear. I didn't follow them. I didn't need to. My part was already done, or so I thought. I stepped outside into the cold and breathed like I'd been underwater. My phone buzzed, a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "This is Maya Rusk," a woman's voice said, steady, tense. "Are you Nate Hale?" My throat tightened. "Yes." "Why are you calling my husband's company?" she asked. "I didn't," I said. "I filed a report at the hospital." Silence. Then, someone just sent me a folder, photos, screenshots. Dana. She'd promised me she'd send it after I filed, not before. Timing matters. "I'm sorry," I said, and meant it. "I didn't want to blindside you." Maya's breath hitched once like she was swallowing pain. "How long?" "I don't know," I said. "I only found out last night." "Where was she?" Maya asked. "The woman, your wife." "At our house," I said. "In our guest room." Maya made a sound that wasn't a sob, but wasn't not a sob either. "He told me he was traveling. He told me he was working late." "I know," I said. "They always do." Maya was quiet a moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed. It was harder. "Do you have proof he was there?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Video. Logs." "Send it," she said. "I want it. I want everything." I hesitated. "Dana sent you a packet. That should—" "I want the original," Maya said, "and I want it now." I thought of Dana's advice. Keep your hands clean. Don't turn this into harassment. Don't become what they'll call you later. "I can't send anything else without my attorney," I said, "but the packet you have is accurate." Maya exhaled, sharp. "Fine. Then tell me one thing." "What? Does she know about me?" I thought of Claire's face when I said Maya's name. "I think she does now," I said. Maya laughed, one short, bitter sound. "Good." Then she hung up. I stood under the streetlight while the hospital glowed above me, bright and untouchable. Inside, Claire was being questioned, and Evan was being escorted. The legal world moves slow, until it doesn't. I went home and slept for 2 hours. When I woke, my phone had 19 missed calls. All from Claire. The next morning, Claire came home with the kind of quiet that happens after a public scene. Her face was pale. Her eyes were red, but her makeup was perfect again, like she could paint over consequences. She stood in the kitchen and looked at the tablet on the counter like it had betrayed her. "You did this," she said. "I filed a report," I corrected. "You humiliated me in front of everyone," she snapped. "I didn't say a word to them," I said. "Your actions did the talking." She slammed her palm on the counter. "You don't understand how that place works. They can freeze my access. They can place you on leave," I said. "Suspend you while they investigate. That's what happens when someone breaks policy." Her eyes narrowed. "You talked to someone." "I talked to an attorney," I said. That stopped her. For a second, she looked like she might actually see me, not as a convenience, not as a background husband, but as a man with agency. Then her face hardened. "You're trying to destroy my life," she said. I laughed, and this time it had no humor. "You invited destruction into our guest room." She stepped closer, voice lowering. "Evan is furious. He thinks you set him up." I didn't set him up, I said. He walked in on his own 2 feet. Claire's jaw trembled. He said if you keep pushing, he'll make sure you lose your contract with the hospital. He knows people. He can threaten me, I said, and he can do it on record if he wants. That would help. She stared at me like I'd started speaking another language. I leaned forward, calm. Listen carefully. You can call me names. You can blame me. You can cry. But you can't unmake the footage, Claire. Her eyes flicked toward the living room, toward the smoke detector camera she'd stared at the night before. Turn off the cameras, she said, quieter now. No, I said. I live here, she said. Not like you used to, I said. She took a breath. What do you want? The old me might have said an apology or the truth or my wife back. But I wasn't bargaining with a ghost. I want you to leave, I said. For now, pack a bag. Go to your sister's. We'll handle the rest through attorneys. Her lips parted. You can't just kick me out. I can, I said. It's my name on the mortgage, and even if it wasn't, I'm not locking you out without notice. I'm asking you to leave. She stared at me, then laughed, sharp and mean. You think you're so righteous. You think you're the hero. I shook my head. I'm not a hero. I'm a man who got tired of being used. She grabbed her purse, stormed upstairs, and I heard drawers open and slam. Suitcase wheels scraped. The house sounded like it was shedding her. Before she left, she came back down and stopped in the doorway. You're going to regret this, she said. I looked at her and realized something that made my skin go cold. She believed that. She believed consequences were something that happened to other people. Maybe, I said, but you're going to remember it. Claire left without another word. I watched her taillights disappear on the driveway camera. Then my phone buzzed with a new message from an unknown number. Evan. We should talk. Man to man. I stared at the screen. Some men think man to man means, let me intimidate you without witnesses. I replied, public place, cameras. He texted back, fine, parking garage, hospital, noon. I showed Dana. She sent one line back. Go, stay calm, let him hang himself. Hospital parking garages feel like the underside of the world, concrete, echoes, fluorescent lights that buzz like angry insects. The air always smells faintly of exhaust and disinfectant, like the building can't decide if it's trying to heal you or break you. I arrived early. I parked near a camera I'd installed 2 years ago. I knew its angle. I knew its blind spots. I stood where it could see my face. Evan arrived at noon sharp in a black sedan that looked expensive in a way that begged for respect. He got out wearing a coat too thin for the cold. He walked toward me like he'd rehearsed the stride in a mirror. Up close, he smelled like cologne and confidence. You're Nate, he said. That's what my badge says, I replied. He smiled, but his eyes didn't. You think you're clever. I'm organized, I said. His smile tightened. You changed the Wi-Fi password. You turned on that voice. You wanted to scare us. I wanted you to know you were on camera, I said. Evan's jaw flexed. You violated privacy. I almost laughed again. In my house? He stepped closer. You filed a report. You dragged my name through a room full of donors. You cost me accounts. Do you have any idea what you've done? I held his gaze. You put your hands on my wife in my guest room. He shrugged like it was a small thing. She wanted it. Something hot rose in my chest. Not rage, something worse, a desire to erase him from the world. I didn't. I took a breath. You're married, I said. His expression flickered. Just a crack. Don't talk about my wife. Evan's smile vanished. That's illegal. It's not, I said. One-party consent. Also, I pointed at the ceiling camera. You're on hospital video. He looked up, startled. For a second, he actually looked human, caught. Then anger flooded back in. He lunged forward, grabbing my jacket collar. "Stop playing games," he snarled. His hand on me triggered something primal. The underdog part of my brain that had carried ladders into attics and crawled through crawl spaces and swallowed pride for years. I didn't punch him. I didn't swing wildly. I did something smaller and meaner. I raised my open hand and slapped him once, hard, flat, humiliating. The sound snapped through the garage like a gunshot without the danger. Evan staggered back, eyes wide, hand flying to his cheek. Then I stepped away, palms open, breathing steady. "Don't touch me," I said. Footsteps echoed. A security guard rounded the corner, drawn by noise. "Everything okay here?" the guard asked, eyes darting between us. Evan's face was red, not just from the slap, from the fact that he'd been handled like a loudmouth teenager. "He grabbed me," I said calmly. "I told him not to." The guard looked at the camera overhead, then back at Evan. "Sir, you need to leave." Evan's mouth opened, then closed. He swallowed his pride like it was poison. As he turned away, he threw one last line over his shoulder. "This isn't over." I watched him walk to his car. Then I spoke, loud enough for the camera, the guard, and the concrete to hear. "Smile," I said. "You're on 12 cameras." Evan froze for half a second, then got in and drove off. My heart hammered. My hands shook slightly, but my mind was clear. He'd threatened me, on camera, on audio, in a hospital garage, receipts. That afternoon, Dana filed an addendum to the report. The threat, the confrontation, the security guard's involvement. Waters had requested any additional documentation, and Evan had delivered it like a gift wrapped in arrogance. Claire called me again at dusk. Her voice was wrecked. "They put me on administrative leave," she said. "They took my badge. They took my access. They said I can't contact anyone involved." "Good," I said. "You're enjoying this," she accused, but it sounded weak. "I'm surviving it," I said. She inhaled shakily. "Evan says he's going to sue you." "He can," I said. "He'll love discovery." Claire was quiet, then smaller. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I leaned against the wall of my workroom and looked at the router lights blinking steady green. "You meant for it to go far enough that you got what you wanted," I said. "You just didn't mean to pay." She started crying then. Real crying, maybe. Or maybe just the kind that happens when the mirror finally stops flattering you. "Nate, please," she whispered. "If I lose my job, I lose everything." I closed my eyes, not from sympathy, from exhaustion. "You should have thought of that before you made our home a hotel," I said. "What do you want?" she asked again, desperate now. "I want the divorce to be clean," I said. "No games, no lies in court, no dragging this out." She sniffed. "And if I don't?" "Then the rest of the evidence goes where it needs to go," I said. "What else?" she demanded, suddenly sharp. I looked at the screen on my laptop and saw the alert log, small red flags like warning signs on a road. "You remember the one more setting?" I asked. Claire went silent. "When I turned on the audible warning," I continued, "I also set an automation. If any camera goes offline, if any clip gets deleted, if anyone tries to change admin access, the system auto-sends backups to my attorney and to compliance." I could almost hear her imagine it. The system like a trap that reset itself. "You can't stop it," I said. "I built it that way." Claire's breath came quick. "You're sick." "No," I said. "I'm careful." She hung up. 2 days later, Waters emailed me. "Thank you for your cooperation. The investigation is ongoing. Please do not discuss with staff." A week later, the hospital issued a bland statement to its board. Vendor relationship under review. Evan's company was suspended pending investigation. That was public enough to sting, vague enough to protect the institution. But small towns don't need details. They just need a headline and a whisper. The final meeting happened in a small office with beige walls and a ticking clock. Claire sat across from me with her attorney. Dana sat beside me. Papers were signed, assets listed, terms agreed. Claire didn't look at me until the end. "You win," she said quietly, like it was the worst thing she could admit. I shook my head. "No one wins," I said. "This is just where it ends." She stood, hands trembling. "You were always so quiet," she said. I thought you'd never do anything." I met her eyes, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something like peace. "I did something," I said. "I stopped protecting you." Claire flinched as if struck, then she turned and walked out. Dana gathered the papers, efficient. "You okay?" she asked. I looked at the clock. Tick, tick, tick. "I will be," I said. On the drive home, I passed the hospital on the hill. The donor wing windows glowed in the late afternoon, bright and distant. At a red light, my phone buzzed with one last notification from my home system. Camera event. Guest room. Playback requested. I pulled over and opened the feed. For a second, the night replayed, Claire's face lifting toward Evan, the laugh, the hand on her waist, the audible warning speaking into the room like a judge. "This area is under video surveillance." Then the clip ended, and the camera returned to live view. An empty room, made clean, made neutral, made mine again. I shut the phone off and sat in silence until my hands stopped shaking. Somewhere behind me, in a town built on gossip and bright hospital lights, my wife was learning what it felt like to be watched by the truth. And I was finally learning what it felt like to walk away without begging. "You should have thought of her," I said, "before you walked into my home." Evan's face hardened. "This is between you and Claire." "No," I said. "This is between you and every policy you signed." He leaned in, voice dropping. "If you don't retract your little report, I will make sure you never work in this town again. I'll call facilities. I'll call the board. I'll call every vendor. You're done." There it was, the threat, the mistake. I lifted my phone slightly, not obvious, just enough. "I'm recording," I said,